You ever think the wildest thing that could happen in a quiet suburban neighborhood is somebody's recycling bin blowing over into the wrong driveway? Yeah, me too. That's what I believed for years. The biggest drama I'd seen was someone trimming their hedges a little too aggressively, or maybe a rogue kid on a skateboard. But at 3:07 a.m. on a frozen February night, the universe decided to teach me just how wrong a person can be. You ever get yanked out of sleep by a noise so loud your heart nearly leaves your body? I shot upright in bed, disoriented adrenaline already flooding my system. My wife Lauren gripped my arm so hard I could barely feel my hand. Ethan? What was that? She asked, voice all shaky. I didn't answer. I just stumbled into whatever clothes I could find: jeans, a hoodie, boots with no socks, and flew downstairs like a man running into a burning building with zero plan. The motion light snapped on in the backyard, and, well, it looked like a monster truck rally had paid my house a visit. Right there, half embedded in my brand new cedar fence, like the one I'd slaved over for 2 weekends last summer, sweating like a pig measuring every post to the millimeter, was a silver Lexus SUV. And standing in the middle of the wreckage heels, digging into what used to be grass, wearing a designer coat makeup fully done at 3 a.m., was Vanessa Clark, president of our HOA, on her phone. She looked annoyed. Not upset, not scared, just irritated like the world had made her late for something important. I just stood there for a second, breathing out little puffs of fog, brain not quite connecting the dots. This woman had launched her $90,000 SUV through my fence, and somehow she looked like I was the one ruining her night. I called out Vanessa. She didn't even look at me. She held up a finger, kept talking into her phone. Yes, there's been an accident. Maple Ridge Drive. No, I'm fine, but there's significant property damage. Property damage. She said it like she'd bumped my mailbox, not demolished a 20-foot section of my yard. Finally, she put her phone away, turned to me, sighed, didn't apologize, just sighed and said, Ethan, we need to talk about this. I pointed at the mess behind her, still trying to process. You drove through my fence. Are you okay? I'm perfectly fine, she said, brushing invisible dust off her sleeve. But the roads are a disaster. Black ice everywhere. Honestly, it's a miracle I'm alive. Then she actually pointed at my driveway. With all due respect, this could have been avoided if you had properly maintained your property. My brain just froze. I mean, it was already cold outside, but this was something else. Excuse me? I asked. She didn't even blink. You didn't salt your driveway. The ice spread into the street. My car hit it. I lost control. This is a direct result of negligent winter maintenance. I just stared at her. At that point, I wasn't even mad. I was just impressed. The mental gymnastics Olympic level. So now it's my fault she crashed her car through my fence because I didn't get up in the middle of the night and sprinkle magic anti-ice powder. Sure, sure, that makes sense. That's Vanessa for you, if you've ever lived with an H. OA, you know the type. The self-appointed monarchs who think the bylaws are commandments from on high. Trash cans visible from the street, violation. Paint shade off by 1% violation. Kids, sidewalk chalk. She once fined my neighbors $75 for excessive wind chimes. I wish I was making that up. So yeah, standing there with my boots half full of snow, listening to Vanessa start prepping her case, I realized she wasn't sorry. She was strategizing. She was going to spin this so hard she'd come out looking like the victim. That's when the sirens hit. 2 squad cars, red and blue lights lighting up my busted fence. Suddenly, Vanessa transformed. Oh, thank God, she said, clutching her chest like she was in a soap opera. Officer, I'm so glad you're here. She started in with her story, how she was driving carefully. Hit unexpected ice, clearly coming from my unsalted driveway. Lost control, blah, blah, blah. The officer just looked at her, then looked at me, then at the luxury SUV still halfway in my yard. Sir, is this your property? Yeah, I said. She drove through my fence. I didn't drive through it, Vanessa snapped. I slid. The younger officer shined his flashlight on the tire tracks. They were a straight line from the road across the lawn through my fence. No fancy turning, no skidding, just full speed ahead. Full. Do you usually salt your driveway? The older cop asked me. I mean, yeah, but the ice storm hit after midnight. I was asleep. Vanessa scoffed. Responsible homeowners monitor weather conditions. Right. Because I should be out in my pajamas at 2 a.m. with a thermometer and a salt shaker. They took photos, made notes, measured everything. Vanessa hovered like a project manager supervising the tow truck that finally dragged her Lexus out of my yard. Careful with the bumper. Watch the suspension. She never even glanced at my fence. When the car was out, you could really see the damage, deep trenches, torn up grass, the fence in absolute ruins. Before she left, Vanessa told me I'll be filing a formal complaint with the HOA tomorrow. This level of negligence is unacceptable. The officer cleared his throat. Ma'am, my report notes that you left the roadway and struck private property. Vanessa's jaw clenched. The ice was a factor. I'll include that, the cop said, which is code for good luck with that argument. By the time everyone left, it was pushing 4 a.m. I stood there in the dark, alone, just deflated. Lauren met me inside with a cup of coffee. She blamed you, didn't she? I just nodded. Of course she did. Morning made everything look worse. Ice everywhere. Not just on my driveway, every driveway. I took photos, called insurance, started setting up a temporary fence so the dogs wouldn't escape. And then, ding ding, my phone rang. Mr. Miller, this is Susan Park with Maple Ridge HOA Management. You've been cited for an unapproved structure. She meant the temporary fence. I explained it's there because your president drove through my real fence. I'm just relaying the complaint, she said. Next, Vanessa herself emailed me, subject violation notice and damage assessment. She accused me of 3 separate violations and demanded $9,200 to cover repairs for her car. Gave me 30 days to pay. I sat there just staring at the screen. My pulse was in my ears. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about the rules. This was about power. She thought she could break me. And honestly, in that moment, I was starting to wonder if she was right. Let me hit pause for a second, because if you're listening, you might be wondering, wait, can she actually do that? Short answer, no, not really. See, standard procedure says that when a car leaves the road and crashes onto someone else's property, the driver is almost always on the hook. Insurance companies, police reports, courts, they all start from that same place. There was ice is not the same as this homeowner caused my accident. For her argument to work, Vanessa would have needed proof that my driveway was some kind of freakish hazard, that it directly caused the accident, and that nothing else was involved. Good luck proving that in an Ohio winter. But this isn't about court. This is about mind games. It's a psychological trap. Vanessa didn't care about winning in court. She wanted to win in my head, overwhelm me with notices, deadlines, legal-sounding threats, just enough to make me roll over. Pay up, let it go. And that works on most people. After the violation notices, after the $9,200 demand, I stopped sleeping. My brain just wouldn't quit. What if she wins? What if they put a lien on the house? What if? Lauren tried to reassure me, but I could hear the worry in her voice too. And then it got worse. Animal control. I was in the yard working on the fence when this county truck rolled up. Out came a woman with a clipboard. And there's Vanessa standing just behind her arms. Crossed, little smirk on her face. Sir, we've had a report of dogs running loose. They're literally right here, I said, pointing behind the fence. This doesn't meet containment code. It's temporary. Then they'll need to stay inside. Warning issued. Public record. Humiliating. Vanessa leaned in as the officer left. This community has standards, Ethan. If you can't follow them, maybe you don't belong here. And that was it. Something in me just snapped. Not a big dramatic moment, just a quiet click deep inside. I went inside, closed the door, and started calling lawyers. Most wouldn't touch HOA cases, or wanted a retainer that made my head spin. But then I found Marcus Reed, a solo property attorney, who sounded as tired as I felt. I told him everything. He said, "This is textbook retaliation. She's using the association as a weapon. Legally, you're in good shape. Emotionally, it's going to be rough." He gave me options: given fight or bring him to the next board meeting. I hired him on the spot. It cost more than I wanted, but peace of mind is expensive. So there we were. Thursday night, fluorescent lit community center, about 20 neighbors in folding chairs. Vanessa at the front, cool and collected until she saw Marcus sitting beside me. That's when her smile slipped just a bit. Meeting kicked off boring stuff first, then item 7. Violation hearing for 214 Maple Ridge Drive. That's me. Marcus stood up, cool as a cucumber. "My name's Marcus Reed, and I represent Mr. Miller." Vanessa bristled. "This is informal. Any proceeding with penalties allows counsel." Marcus replied, unfazed. Then he started. "Let's discuss the driveway allegation." He asked for the exact covenant. Vanessa read it out loud, said snow accumulation, not ice, not unsalted driveways, not midnight storms. Marcus handed out photos of every driveway all covered in ice. Was anyone else cited silence? Selective enforcement is illegal, he pointed out. People started shifting in their seats. Next, the fence. He'd already requested emergency approval. For the temporary one, it was denied on discretion. Discretion isn't arbitrary, he said. Then came the witnesses. My neighbor George and 2 others had signed statements. Car left. Road hit fence. Nothing unusual about the driveway. Vanessa's face turned red. She slammed her hand on the table. "Enough. We've heard enough. We haven't," Marcus said, still calm. He quoted Robert's rules, HOA, bylaws, procedures. She hated that he knew them. Then, Vanessa tried one last trick. "I move for $1,000 in fines and removal of the fence." Someone seconded. Marcus didn't raise his voice. "If this passes, we will sue. Selective enforcement, retaliation, abuse of authority, Attorney General complaint." He put a draft lawsuit on the table right in front of everyone. Board members leaned in, started reading. One muttered, "I didn't sign up for this." Another said, "We should consult counsel." Vanessa snapped, "He's bluffing." Marcus just smiled. "I'm not. Vote to table the motion 3-2 in my favor." Vanessa looked like she'd bitten into glass. But Marcus warned me, she's not done. He was right. 2 days later, her insurance denied her claim. So she blamed me harder, a demand letter from her personal attorney, $9,200 plus emotional distress. Marcus laughed. This is desperation. Insurance finished their investigation. Official determination, she was at fault. My deductible reimbursed my repairs, covered her claim denied. Game over. Right? Not quite. That's when the state attorney general's office called multiple complaints, patterns of conduct investigation. I gave them everything. Emails, letters, photos, statements. Turns out I wasn't the only one. Neighbors started coming forward. Doors, dandelions, old fences, illegal roof colors, everybody had a story. The board started to crumble. 3 members resigned. Linda from across the street came over and apologized. We were scared of her. Special election high turnout. Vanessa lost. She emailed everyone scream fraud. Nobody cared. And then came the criminal stuff. Turns out she'd forged reports and permits for years. The police showed up. Mugshot on the local news. I didn't cheer. I just watched numb like you watch a storm finally end. She pled out probation, community service restitution. 5 grand to me. The judge didn't hold back. You abused a position of trust. No place for you in this community. My fence got rebuilt. The yard was mine again. One day, months later, Vanessa drove by. Slow, stared at the new fence. I just waved. She drove off. And then a moving truck showed up. Her house emptied out just like that. Lauren and I watched from the window. No celebration. Just a deep, quiet breath. You want to know the strangest thing? After all that, the money, the threats, the meetings, the public humiliation. What stuck with me most wasn't any of it. It was how close I'd come to giving up. There were so many moments where quitting would have been easier. Just pay the bill, take down the fence, say fine, whatever. Most people do. Not because they're weak, but because they're tired. That's how the system works, HO. A's are supposed to be about community shared values, looking out for each other. But without checks and balances, they become little kingdoms for people who love power more than people. Most homeowners have more rights than they know. But rights don't mean much if you're too overwhelmed to fight back. That's the real trick. People like Vanessa don't have to be smarter or stronger. They just have to go unopposed. What finally broke her wasn't me or Marcus or the lawsuit threat. It was when people started talking. When we stopped hiding our problems and compared notes. Her power just poof vanished. So, if you're listening to this and you're stuck in your own HOA mess, hear me out. You're probably not crazy. You're probably not overreacting. You're probably not alone. Talk to your neighbors. Read your bylaws. Call your insurance. Get help early. And don't confuse confidence with competence. People like Vanessa only thrive when nobody pushes back. I didn't set out to be the guy who took down the HOAC president. I just wanted my fence back. I wanted quiet. Normal. But sometimes you get drafted into a fight you didn't sign up for. That's when you find out who you really are. Turns out I'm a little more stubborn than I ever guessed. A little more patient. And maybe this is the only good thing I'm stronger now than I was before. These days, Maple Ridge feels like a neighborhood again. Not a battleground, not a courtroom, just a place where people live and breathe and wave at each other over the fence. And honestly, that's all I ever wanted. Now, I want to hear from you. Ever had a run-in with an out-of-control HOA or a board member on a power trip? Ever gotten a ridiculous fine or been harassed over nothing? Drop your story below. Seriously. Share your experience, read what others have been through. Because the more we talk, the harder it is for bullies to hide. Thanks for sticking with me. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is just refuse to be pushed around.